to this month's Tribal Fireside Chat. A-Team is in the house. We have a special guest in the house today. I'm going to try to keep Andrea awake. She's a little jet lagged from her trip. So tell us a little bit about where you've been this week, who you've been hanging out with, because,
Yeah.
you've got some exciting stuff.
Morning. I got to hang out with the Nigel Moore. I think you guys have probably heard of him. We got to go to a Grobly high-level conference and hear about some of the new things happening, do a master that are using high level. So that was really cool. A lot of fun.
Nice. So you got to hang out with the legend himself, which is
Sure
something I have
did.
not had the
Yes.
privilege yet. So,
Yep.
yeah.
He's
See,
currently on a flight back over down under, as they say.
so he can get back to, what is he, head down, bum up, back to
Yep.
work. So,
Yep.
welcome everybody to the show today. Tektronic IT Services, Jeff Bolden, David Spiegelman, Annika Williams. Yeah, a few joining live this morning. So we appreciate any folks who show up live. Yes, this is going to be recorded. Those of you who might pop in and wonder and ask question, is this going to be recorded? Yes, it is. Actually, as soon as we're done with this live stream, you'll be able to immediately give it YouTube a few minutes to do its thing, but you'll be able to immediately go back and watch this stream. I'm going to be time stamping some of the bombs that are going to be dropped today, because I know there's going to be quite a few. Our last session with Jamie Warner, I literally think I spent probably close to 2 hours doing all of the cut and roll and tagging all of the just phenomenal stuff he dropped. So yeah, so I was
Yeah.
super excited for
Great
that.
one.
So yeah, lots to talk about. We're gonna continue that discussion today of probably, would you say that's probably the most polarizing word in the MSP industry, Andrea, marketing?
Yeah, I'm really excited about today's conversation. Yeah, this is been a really good partnership that we have with MSP Camp, and I'm really excited to hear from Taher today.
Super excited. We're going to welcome Preston to the show. Good to have you on the show, and Marcelo. So we've got our welcomes out of the way. Let's welcome our guest today, which I've had the privilege to meet just before the show today. I'm looking forward to meeting in person. I think he's got some incredible ideas, and you folks in the tribe are benefiting already by some of the stuff that's come out of MSP Camp. So please, without further ado, help us welcome Taher Hamid. And did I get that right? Did I pronounce
You
that
did.
right? Awesome.
You totally did.
This
Taher
for you.
Hamid.
Taher got a Rodecaster Pro 2. Just figured out he can make sounds on his side too. So yeah,
Love it.
We could geek out all day long about the tech stuff. He's going to give himself his own applause. So.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm so glad it wasn't like womp, womp, womp.
Yeah. Nope. I think you've got lots of gems to drop for the tribe today. Very much looking forward to it. So
we'll see.
All right. Since this was the first chance I had to meet you today, some of the tribers might not be familiar with who you are, what you do, some of the just absolute gold you've been bringing into the tribe. So why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your background in the MSP space and what you guys got going on.
Yeah, so I started as a marketing intern for my father-in-law's MSP like 8 years ago, a company called Alltech Services in Lakeland, Florida. I got my master's in healthcare administration, so I had no background in IT, zero background in marketing. And over the course of about 6 years, we grew from like 3 people in a warehouse to about $4.5 million in annual revenue, local powerhouse, highly profitable. So it was just a really cool journey that I'm just so proud of. A lot of fun, learned a lot of lessons along the way. And so about 1.5 years ago, I pitched to my father-in-law, the owner. I was like, hey, we have all these campaigns that have worked for us. Like this content works for us. Like the sales presentation we have, like the sales collateral, the marketing campaigns we've run, like all this works. Like, why don't we just package it up and like give it to other MSPs? So that was the idea. And sure enough, I mean, it struck a chord in the market. I think it was the podcast where people got to hear us and understand what we're trying to do. And we just put up this really crappy site. I mean, the first version of MSP Camp was the worst thing ever. It was like literally just locked pages with my personal OneDrive link with the campaigns. We've come a long way. But yeah, that was about a year and a half ago. And today we got a team of 13, so it's just been super cool, the progress and movement. And yeah, so that's kind of my story. Lots and lots of failure along the way, which I'm sure we're going to get into, and then as well as some successes that I hope to share.
Yeah, Nigel and I definitely can empathize with you. It's like we share our failures because I think that's where I've personally learned the most.
Totally.
When I scrape my knees, bust my chin, make those bad mistakes.
Yep.
All right, so today we're going to talk about marketing, but specifically, the title of our show was "Stop Boring Marketing." So I think it's first of all good for us to define what boring marketing is and maybe why there's a need for us to maybe change it up in our marketing materials.
Yeah, totally. The first episode of the podcast is called "Stop Using Shit Content," and in fact, the podcast itself was going to be called "No Shit MSP." Wait, is it okay if I cuss on this?
I don't have my bleep.
I think so.
Oh,
You can bleep yourself out on your Roadcaster Pro.
Okay,
by the way.
I'm sorry, I wasn't even thinking. And the original title of the podcast was going to be no, SHIT, MSP marketing, because it was I think in that episode is the only one where 100% of people, when they start that episode, go through the whole thing. And why? It's because we all know, or we all feel that the content we're using on our website, the collateral we're using, the social media content, it is not good. And we feel it and we know it, but we don't know why. Why do I post something only 3 people look at it? Why does my website say nothing but has a lot on it? What is bad content? Why is it so prevalent in the MSP space? It's what I call corporate washed, right? We're B2B, we're white collar, so we think that we have to be polished and professional, and that's the type of content we have to post out. And that is what everybody does, whether they're working with an agency, some content providers themselves. They're like, okay, yeah, this looks very professional and nice, so that's the kind of content we're going to use. The problem is that content doesn't elicit any emotion or any reaction from our target market. It doesn't for us, so why would it with our target market? And so it literally just goes out there and falls on deaf ears and does nothing. We all know it. We all feel it. And so that is the mission that we have kind of gone on, where it's let's use better content, more engaging content that actually moves people towards us over time, like a magnet.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you touched on a point that MSPs know that they shouldn't be doing it, but they keep doing it. So why do they keep doing it?
Couple of reasons. One, it's easy. So the most prevalent is just stock photos with text on it. That's what I see people posting all the time on socials, websites. It's stock photo of 2 people doing business. They're shaking hands. And then it's IT services, right? The most boring thing I can ever imagine, right? So it's easy. It's easy to grab a stock photo and add some text on it. So that's the big thing. It's just easy, right? To create something compelling and interesting, engaging, you have to think about it for a long time. Not a long time, really. I mean, if you sit quiet for 20 minutes, you'll think of a couple good content ideas right away. But then you got to create it. So it does take time and effort to create content that's engaging. That's just the reality of it. Good content isn't like that, right? It takes time. You think about your favorite YouTuber or your favorite content creator, every video they do, I mean, they put some thought into it. It's not just just post away. The other big thing, and this is probably more prevalent than the time, because sometimes MSP owners will or even marketers will just hire somebody to do it. So let's take the time aspect out of it. The other thing that happens is the MSP owner, understandably, spent a lot of time and effort building this business, right? To them, their brand is extremely important. And so when you pitch them something that is funny or something that is out there, they get scared. No, I don't know how that's going to look. That might look weird. My brand's very important to me. I think we should go safer because I think that's what my target market wants. I think my target market, they really polished and professional. I hear that all of the time, and I have a million rebuttals for this, but here's a couple examples. I was listening to a masterclass with the guys that came up with Got Milk. Literally, they came up with Got Milk. Like, they're like this massive advertising agency, and they've so many successful campaigns. And even today, the guys that came up with Got Milk are pitching content to their clients. They're like, this is going to work. It might be humorous. It might be crazy. And even today, the clients are saying, I don't think we should do that, right? Like, from the guys who had some of the most successful marketing campaigns in the history are telling them that they should do this, and they're saying no because they're trying to be safer. The other example I like to use on this is Morgan & Morgan, right? I hear MSPs all the time say, no, that only works for business to consumer. Like, that only works, for brands like that. No. We're targeting the exact same person, whether we're B2B or B2C. It's the exact same human. The messaging has to be a little different as you move down the funnel, but top of the funnel, we're just trying to get their interest. Okay, here's an example. Morgan & Morgan is a US-based law firm. They're like the largest. There is nothing more serious than personal injury law. Someone has been hurt, like they need help. They are injured. You would think that company would have to market in a very professional, very white collar, very like, we are going to help you manner. But they don't. They market in the most ridiculous way, where Morgan & Morgan is like doing all this crazy stuff. He's an astronaut in space or whatever, because he's just trying to get their attention. Now, when that prospect reaches out to Morgan & Morgan and they're at a meeting with a Morgan & Morgan lawyer, lawyers don't come in and start doing funny skits and going like this and whatever. No, it gets more polished as you move down the funnel. But to get somebody's attention, pound law, funny, humor, engaging content that sticks in the mind of the prospect. Whereas all the other lawyers are doing that same BS where they're on a billboard looking professional. I hope those two make sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So an MSP who wants to stay in brand, who doesn't have a lot of time, who wants to get their prospects' attention, what's a better way to do it? I mean, what's a better approach than with not being boring?
Yeah, totally. So this is where I laid out like a specific framework that I want to help here with. So outside of, because it's easy to say, okay, don't do boring content, but it's okay, cool. But like, how? Like, how do we, what do you mean? Like, how do we do that? And this is what's missed all the time, but will absolutely help you with your content creation, whether you are doing YouTube videos, or you're doing videos, or you're trying to get people's attention on social media, or you're adding SEO content on your website, whatever you are doing to try and engage your audience. What we have to do to start is focusing on the right person. And so what do I mean by that? If we are going to be doing a campaign to lawyers, we need to interview 3 of our lawyer clients. And we need to ask them, what are their challenges? What were their challenges before working with our company? What is better now? What are some specific things about your industry that you can tell me about? What is some lingo that you use that is inside baseball for you guys, right? And do it with 3 clients and record them 10, 15, 20 minutes, right? And what that is going to do is really get you in the mind of the marketing persona that you're about to be targeting with this blog post, with this video, with this podcast, with this whatever content you're creating, with this telemarketing campaign. If you do a telemarketing campaign without doing what I just said, you are going to put what you think is important, which is cybersecurity and dark web monitoring and whatever. Cool. But why don't we just use 3 things that the lawyer cares about, like opening multiple offices, which they care a lot about. How did you make that easy for your current clients, right? So we can use the interviews to give us really specific pain points from that vertical or that area or that title. They're pain points, which we literally list out. You should list out. And then the opportunities that we have to serve those pain points. That's where every marketing campaign, even campaigns to your current client, should start. What are their actual pain points? What are our actual opportunities to address those pain points? That is where everybody should start. Before starting that, trying to think up content is almost like impossible because we don't know. We don't even know where to start. But starting with this framework, now we have an action item. We have like a hit list.
Yep.
All right. And so then we list out, okay, we know our target market. We know where they congregate because they told me, like, this is the industry events they go to. This is what they read. This is where they're at, from 3 different people. It's a pretty good sample size. Now we can put the ingredients together, the tactics within our strategy over a defined period. So like, okay, for, 2 months, we are going to use the pain points from this conversation to create, a direct mail strategy, and then a phone call follow-up. If we didn't have the pain points and opportunities, that campaign is almost definitely going to fail because we don't know what they actually care about right now. Whereas when we have the pain points and opportunities, when we're building interesting content off those pain points and opportunities, we're going to actually be talking to our target market. And then we literally go down the list, and any content we create has to, I'm going to say, like, this is the thing that I think everybody misses. It has to talk to the pain points and opportunities that are on that list. If they are not on that list, we are not creating the content. But it can be done in different ways, right? Like it can be, they say they are tired that their IT provider doesn't respond right away. Cool. We have a lawyer in office at midnight saying, oh, they said they were going to call me back any minute, and the guy's on the beach, right? Like we can use the pain points and opportunities to create content that is going to be funny, or it is going to be interesting, or it's actually going to be engaging. And because we're talking about a inside baseball pain point that vertical cares about, it's going to be much more likely to get their attention than 2 lawyers shaking hands with a cybersecurity lock symbol above it saying, we secure your office.
Yeah. I Preston asked, so you don't do what everyone else does.
Yeah.
That's the key. So yeah, if everybody is talking about something that your prospect doesn't care about, we worked with attorneys too. So yeah, we battled with that, but yes, our marketing finally changed because I went in to record testimonial videos. The best, my B-roll, the before and after was what I used as the testimonial. Like that stuff that you find out before and after the polished testimonial was great because they told you exactly why they chose us, why they continue to work with us, what pains they've had in the past. And yeah, that nobody's doing it. That like nobody's talking in the prospect's language.
Yeah. And then I know we're talking specifically, that's such a good example, like before and after testimony videos, and also before and after projects. Like people don't post enough content of their projects. It's like, look, the prospect does care about their terrible server room that has wires and stuff all over it. They don't like that, but they don't know what to do about it. And their current MSP quoted them $2,000 or whatever. Like they do care that you can take that and make it beautiful. Like those before and after transitions, wonderful content. Like I would post that every week. Like if you're doing a project every week, cool. Make sure you get content of that. Like
I love seeing those posts. Like I totally, my OCD is well at peace when you see something go from a wreck to perfectly labeled and no zip ties, Velcro. Yeah,
exactly. And it's not just IT people that feel that way. It's our target market. Like 100%. But in addition, thinking outside of the box just on content, like another example is like, I had an interview with Mike Bloomfield from Techie Geeks, and his entire brand is superheroes. Like his van is superheroes, his website is superheroes, his presentation folder is superheroes. He went so hard on branding that he's going to stick out in the mind of the prospect. There's a guy in my local market, his whole thing is the color purple. He's a realtor. He doesn't realtor better than other realtors, but every time you see purple, you think of Jared because he has made purple his standing out. And so colors are a really important way to do that, and themes are an important way to do that. Like, why is the tech tribe, right? Why is MSP Camp, right? Why is it themed like a camp? Because camp is going to stand out in the prospect's mind significantly more than MSP content machine or whatever lame thing that I was about to name it, right? Like theming, and it's also more fun. Like anytime we create content now, it can have that theme. Like we're planning our first conference, and now I get to make it like this cool theme and not just like marketing conference, like it's just makes things funner for the person that's marketing the thing and also for the consumers that are consuming the thing. So
absolutely. Yeah. You touched You can thank Andrea for part of my infatuation with the color orange. We
Yeah.
go back over a decade, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, the Tennessee orange, when we would
Yes.
meet quarterly, I was like, maybe you're onto something. So you did, like, orange was my thing. It still
And I love
is.
it. It
Yeah.
stands out. I totally agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When I see the orange and I see you, it really sticks out a lot. Yeah.
So it could be something as simple as that. Like, we don't have to, I'm not the most creative person in the world. I mean, I am very much an analytical spreadsheet guy. Like, it takes me so long to get into a creative space. What do you think is the biggest challenge that MSPs have with, that either the desire, or what do you think probably, it stops them from creating better content?
I think especially with content and campaigns, it's a long game. And I think MSPs, so I think it's a combination of two things. One, marketing in general in the MSP space is a long game. And then two, most MSPs are kind of burnt out. They're like, yeah, I hired an agency for $3,000 a month. I didn't get any results from it. I'm burnt out. Yes, I sent a postcard out and a newsletter out, didn't get anything out of it. Like, marketing doesn't work. And I know this because, again, where does my target market congregate? Reddit. And every time I go on Reddit, anytime there's a question about pretty much any marketing on Reddit, maybe that's a little bit of a hyperbole, but people are like, does SEO work? And like, what are the top comments? Nope, doesn't work. I tried it. The best thing to do is referrals and relationships. And like, that's getting upvoted. So people actually believe what this person is saying. And I'm like, wow, we can equate literally $1 million a year to SEO. So no, you are wrong. Like, you're totally wrong. Or it's like, hey, does direct mail work? It's like, nope, doesn't work. Did it for years. Doesn't work. It's like, really? Because the guy that just came on literally grew his business to 10 million with direct mail. So we get burnt out, right? We're burnt out. We tried some things for a little bit and it failed. Or we tried an agency for a little bit or for a long bit and it failed. So I think there's two things. One, like, really those two things, like burnout and agency or spending a lot of marketing that failed. So we need to just understand that when it comes to marketing, it's a long game. And it's like, whatever you're starting today, like, you just got to keep on keeping on. Like, you really do. It took me 12 months to get the flywheel going. Like, I didn't close, I closed one deal within 13 months at my MSP. At the MSP I was at, I didn't own it. I was at it. And I almost quit twice, 2 times. I almost quit the MSP. That would have totally changed the trajectory of my life. Because I was just like, so bummed out. I was like, this is not working. Like, I'm doing everything in the book. I'm calling everybody. I'm going to all the networking events. I'm posting on social media every day. I'm writing content for the website. Like, nothing is working. And then it was like month 13, the flywheel started. And we literally added at least one client a month every single month for 6 years. And like, that's the flywheel started, and it just kept on going because I never took my foot off the gas. Yeah. Now, what most MSPs want is they want like a really specific, that's why people get so engaged with campaigns. Like, these are the 8 things you need to do to get leads today. And it's like, okay, yeah, I kind of wish it was that easy, but it's kind of not. Like, you have to know your target market. Like, you have to know your market. You have to know, like, what does your target market care about? Like, so that's why MSP Camp, we're like, here's 12 different resources for your campaign, but you don't have to do all of them. Like, maybe just start with like the emailing campaign with a postcard and a phone call, or like maybe just rewrite some of the blogs so you can start getting some SEO juice in your local market. Like, maybe don't start with everything, right? Like, just start with interests you and just make sure you're consistent. One example of this is like Russell Brunson. I'm a huge fan of Russell Brunson. And he basically says, like, when you start off, just start with one platform. Like MSP Camp, we only did a podcast. We didn't have a YouTube. I didn't post on my organic social media. I didn't even care about SEO at first, even though SEO was one of the biggest drivers for the MSP. My target market's a little different, right? Like, it would have been a lot harder for me to rank for MSP marketing than it was for me to rank for IT services in Lakeland, Florida. So that's why I didn't focus with SEO, even though it works so well with my other, with all tech services. Instead, I was like, a podcast is kind of untapped in this market. I also just, unfortunately, like to talk a lot. So I'm like, why don't I just start with that platform, and I'll just go hard on that platform, and I will get it out to an audience, which was specifically Reddit at first. I would just, only post the link when someone asked a specific question. And that is how MSP Camp got its start. We're a marketing company. The only thing we did for marketing the first 6 months is one platform, podcasts. So I think just to relieve anxiety for those listening right now, marketing can be a whole lot of things. Campaigns can be a whole lot of things. But at the same time, you can just like start with what you are most interested in and go from there. Like we have a MSP Camp member who just he loves our content and he uses it to supplement when he can't think of his own LinkedIn content. In the last 2 months, I've seen his audience grow like crazy organically, right? It's not that he's just posting MSP Camp content because that would be really easy, whatever. He also posts stories about what's happening as MSP. A client was almost hacked, but because they had MDR in place, it stopped and da, 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 da. He chose LinkedIn organic, right? So I know that's a long answer. I want to bring it back to the initial question, like why don't we do this? It's because we get overwhelmed and burnt out. So I think staying focused on what we want to start and being consistent will help us find success. So I hope that can kind of concisely answer, and I'll try and keep them shorter. And
I think it absolutely does. So I think there's two things an MSP needs to do. The first is you got to find out what those pain points are. You have to take the time. If you don't know what those things are, what are, I talk about it in some training that I've done is what is the currency that they buy? It's not cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. The currency they buy, like for an attorney, the currency they're buying is the ability to have more billable hours. Mm-hmm. How does what you do help them do that?
Yes.
If you don't know the answers to those questions, and think about that for any client, how do you help them increase their revenue? They're in business not to work on computers all day. They're in business to do whatever it is they do, whether they're attorney, property management company, whatever it is. But you got to find out what those pain points are. Take that time, and then pick one thing to start with. So I like that advice there. Yeah.
100%.
Don't try to do everything. There's a lot in the tribe. Like, don't try to just go in there and do everything. Start with one thing.
Yep. Yeah. And like one thing I've seen, especially MSP owners, like when they do get engaged in marketing and they get obsessed with marketing, it's insane what they can do. Like some of the members are showing me stuff they're doing, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And I'm like, this is crazy because they have an analytical mind. They can look at the reports of their website and say, oh, wait, I can do a heat map. Like I didn't even know what a heat map was. I've been in marketing for 8 years. I'm like, what's a heat map? And they're like, yeah, I can see like where they dropped off and da-da-da. I'm like, that's wild, right? And like they're making tweaks because that's like the MSP's analytical mind actually works beautifully with marketing. It's not about creating a pretty picture. It's like, how do we tap into what people care about? Like if they're on the website, like what should we change? So it actually works really well in this market. When the MSP person does get engaged with marketing, like it's actually crazy what gets accomplished pretty quickly.
I know. I owe a lot of that, like I said, to Andrea when I was running my MSP. Like just, that was when it changed. When I finally decided we're a marketing company.
Yes.
It just happens to do IT services. When I mentally shifted that, then everything made sense. So yeah, you got an incredible resource here, folks, with Andrea. I can't stress that enough. Like she was phenomenal in helping me grow the last 2 years before I sold my MSP. And it was that mind shift change of strictly, I'm a marketing company now. What does the data show? What are my clients telling me? And how do I marry those two together? And yeah, we did. I was 10 years into an MSP. We grew 50% the last 2 years. Nice. That's easy to do if you're 1 or 2 years old, but to do that with a 10-year-old company, that was unheard of. And we did. We doubled revenue the last 2 years. And yeah, that made us super attractive because we knew what the pain points were in the two big markets, attorneys and property management companies. We knew them inside and out. So yeah, excellent stuff.
Yeah.
And they're going to show us some examples of some good stuff here shortly as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, yeah, we'll go full screen if you want to start sharing some of those.
All right, cool. Let me see what I wrote down.
We're in infinity mode, so.
Yeah. All right, so there were some specific things. All right. So the reason I want to share these specific ones is not to show how cool we are. It's like to get the idea that it doesn't have to just be like wild and crazy, and it doesn't have to just be vertical. So one example is like time sensitive stuff, right? What does your market currently care about? Everyone talks about AI. AI is so hype right now. Cool. That's great. Let's use that in our marketing as an IT company. That's like perfect. So example of that is a member held a Microsoft Copilot webinar, and they had 90 people register for this. And all they did was cold email, warm email to their list, and social media organic. They had 90 people register, and then 40 people actually show up. And they got a big project out of it. And Microsoft Copilot, like, I know there's not a ton of margin in licenses, but like now you get to implement it. You can do a project, all that other stuff. So like time sensitive stuff can be really good. Instead of doing a webinar on cybersecurity, which is about as boring as it gets for most prospects, like do it on something specific about CMMC cybersecurity or something really relevant and time sensitive for the target market. All right, another one I want to show, or I want to actually show, it's called IT Purchase Provider. And why did I create a campaign around IT purchasing? This was a member who they had a big corporate IT come in and buy up a smaller MSP. And the smaller MSP's customer satisfaction went down the hill, and they started scooping up the competitor that my member started scooping up clients, because the big corporate came over and unfortunately didn't do a very good job. In some cases, it actually improves the MSP, but in other cases, it makes things go downhill. Well, cool. Let's create a time-sensitive campaign around this very specific thing happening in your market right now. Like, talk about pain points and opportunities. The person that has an MSP that they loved for 10 years, and now everything they loved about them is changing. They have some real pain points like right now. And that's why we created this campaign, because it's time sensitive, that's specific to the market. So we don't need to just think vertical. We don't need to just think titles. We can think of like, what's happening in the market right now that I can what's happening in the zeitgeist that I can kind of tap into, right? And so, we give lots of examples of what they can do. Right, this is still being built out, but like, here's an email campaign you can send out to your list. And, even better if like you go to that MSP's website and you get like their testimonials, or you get like, you find out who some of their clients are. And even though they were raving fans 2 years ago, now we can kind of start to engage them and say, hey, here's some benefits of working local versus the big guys. Because that's one of the biggest advantages we have as MSPs, is being a local provider. So we just kind of poked fun at it, like wanted the faceless IT, cash reward. We did a lot of interesting ways, which are talking about specifically the pain points. Another one I would talk about is, a direct mail piece on working local. And so with this one, we actually have the member print out their Google My Business, or like a satellite view of Google Maps, and it shows like their physical location, the MSPs, and we do like a 5-mile radius, so it's super close, and we only send this postcard to businesses within 5 miles of this MSP. So now this person who just had their MSP get purchased, they're getting this postcard that's like, hey, I know you want to go local again. We're right here, right? And then there's a nice call to, and then like a physical image, an actual image of that person. And on the back, the call to action can be changed for whatever you want. And then an insert team photo. So it's like super personal. It's like, this is where we're at. I'm the owner. Here's my entire team. Like, you know us, you like us, and I'm going to call you next week to reiterate this point, right? So that's how we can use these pain points and turn it into content that stands out and that's creative and can actually be effective, versus another just plain postcard talking about the 6 services we do, right? Like, they already work with an MSP. Like, they kind of get what services you have. Let's talk about their pain points. Like, they don't want to work with another faceless IT company. So just some examples of how we've taken a specific situation and turned it into a campaign. Does that make sense so far? Am I lose anybody, or is that good stuff? Anybody commenting?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Okay, awesome. So a couple other things real quick. I don't want to take up too much of y'all's time, but like, why did we create a micro campaign not to target accountants. I just want to, anyone listening, I'm going to pause real quick. Like, I want us to really hear what's happening on this one. Yes, anybody can create a campaign to accountants, to target accountants. Why did we create a micro campaign for the accountant to use in their marketing? It's like inception happening here, right? The lead magnet for our accounting campaign is for the accountant that's on that page to download a free campaign for them that educates their customers on cybersecurity. So this accountant that just landed on our landing page gets to download this resource that they get to brand for themselves to educate their clients and to get prospects. We created a marketing campaign for the accountant. Why did we do that? That seems so random. It's because when I was doing those interviews that we've talked about, multiple times the accountant said, oh, we get cybersecurity questions all the time from clients, and they're serving B2B clients. And they're just like, we don't really know what to send them. We don't really know what to tell them. In my head, I'm like, why don't you send them to me? But, it's fine. So I was like, if I created a campaign that you could use to educate your clients and prospects, would you use that? And would you find that valuable? And she's like, absolutely. And I heard that a couple times. So I'm like, perfect. My target market, the person I'm talking to, would like that. Let me turn that into a lead magnet. And so that's the type of reason these interviews are so important, because I would have never in a million years thought of something like that. But because the target market, this person I'm talking to, is saying that, it makes sense to build it. So like an example of that one. Is we created like a video, we created, infographics, educate your clients on cybersecurity to protect your accounting firm. I wish I would have had it brought up. It's like
Absolute ton of stuff there, man.
Yeah, that's a huge value add, and it just really reiterates what a thought leader you are, and it's such a stickiness, for that client for you.
That's exactly it. It's like the MSP cares enough to create this content for you, right? They want your business. We want your business, sure. But in the meantime, why don't you use this valuable piece? Okay, it's actually a separate drop down. That's what it was. And yeah, I mean, this has been gold. We're updating our content with this, and it's like, okay, so this is the whole package, and we create this thumbnail, right? So this is the lead magnet. So like when the accountant lands on the page, this is what we're going to use to like get them to download this lead magnet and give me their email. And then when they download it, there's like this really nice video on what they need to do. There's social media posts that the accountant can do. There's the simplest cybersecurity checklist of all time for individuals that you can brand for your accountant and send to your clients when they ask the question, right? So I don't want to go too hard on this. I'm just trying to explain like that is thinking outside the box, and that is why pain points are so popular. Okay, so I won't really cover these other two just because I don't want to take up too much of y'all's time on this. But another thing is like Server 2012, right? That was coming up pretty quick in October of 2023. We created a super simple campaign, and it's two facets. One, updating customers that they need to update their servers is a wonderful time to get them to the cloud or to get some nice project revenue and to keep them more secure. And then two, a wonderful prospecting thing, because if they currently have an IT provider, especially if it's a break fix, and that break fix person is not educating the customer that this is coming down the hill, and you're the one that gets to use content to educate them that this is coming in an urgent time frame, that is interesting, engaging, and helpful content. And it makes you look like a badass. So just some examples there. And then the last example, is it okay if I show one more?
Go ahead.
Of course.
All right, cool. So this is going to be, all right, so this video, I just want to put some context to this video real quick. Why we did this ridiculous video is we hear all the time from prospects, like they feel like their computers are slow. A pain point is computers, but then like they don't really update as much as they should. And so it is a pain point that slow computers suck, right? And so we created a social media graphic that like really blew up, and it was like the RAM eating monster. Oops. So here's the original Ramini monster. And like people just loved it because it was like, you know, Google Chrome's like, you know, we use the description to kind of understand it, but kind of stands out. It's like this ridiculous Google Chrome monster destroying a city. And like people just loved it. Like it became like a keystone piece of content. So I was like, cool, our best performing content, like let's just go harder on it. So we decided to make this video. And the reason I'm showing this video is not to show how cool we are. It's like this is converting right now for a member in Texas using this for their remarketing ads.
My computer is going so slow.
Yeah, these computers are ancient. Even my web browser's a Ramini monster.
What is that? It's the Ramini monster! It's destroying our business!
We should really listen to our IT provider. Go ahead and upgrade our equipment.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you guys were right. It's destroying everything. Okay, thanks. They're on their way.
Good.
Well, guys, all is well.
I mean, it did eat Ryan pretty horrifically, and I might be scarred and have lasting problems.
But I can open up a lot of tabs on my browser now.
You can open up a lot of tabs, man. Work is going to be great.
Yes.
So look, I know that that's dumb. Like I know it like has this cringe feel to it. And I know the audio isn't perfect. And I know it's like, what am I looking at? But top of the funnel, that's all we need. We just need somebody to look at us and remember us, right? And like get them to us, right? And get that free hardware report. And then we can start sending them nurture emails that are value-based, tech tips, webinars, you know, really good stuff. That's not like we're constantly trying to be funny and crazy, but like top of the funnel, like, yeah, just get as crazy as you want. Like it doesn't really matter. People are not going to look at something like that and go, wow, I would never work at that IT, you know, with that IT company. And I had, it's funny, this ad, we had this in our ad explaining MSP Camp. And like that is what we use as the first part of it because it catches attention. And we have so many people converting from that ad because they see the Ramini monster, like, what the heck is this? So not only is it working for our MSP Camp members trying to get their prospects, it's working for us because they see that and go, what the heck is that? So it's just getting their attention. And then, and what's funny, all right, sorry to go so hard on this, but I just want to explain so we can really conceptualize what is happening here. Most people, when they see that ad, they don't even watch more than 20 seconds of it, and then they convert as a new member. So most people are not even watching the whole ad. Most people are not even watching the whole video, but it gets their attention, it gets them to a landing page, and then they convert. We are just trying to get their attention. So really want to just stress that point, and now I'll stop.
No, that part is brilliant. That is the number one hardest thing to do in marketing is to get someone's attention.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people love that ad. Well, let's unpack that too, because I think you touched on something that for a lot of MSPs that are really elevating, building, and growing, they're doing exactly what you did with the accountants. They're going that next level and helping their prospects serve their customers. So you're going 2 levels deep in that relationship before you even get started with them.
Yeah.
And I think that is different thinking. That for me is a more, it is different than any other MSPs. Like nobody's going to take the time to help me solve my problem before we even become a customer. So I like that to me is gold. I love that point.
We do webinars, and you would think when I say webinars, it's like VoIP and like cybersecurity and us trying to sell shit, but it's not. It is literally, how do you use Microsoft Teams in your business? Like end user. And then we do an advanced one for managers, and we send it out to clients. So we know people are going to show up. We also send it out to our prospect list. We tell them at the bottom, please forward this. Like those webinars do so well because it's not us trying to sell them. It's us providing value to them, like end user value, like things that they can do in their daily work life. And yeah, that is what has really helped get our audience. Now, that being said, it's not like somebody watches a webinar on Microsoft Teams and is ready to buy your IT services. So that's just another example. Like we got to understand it's a long game. Like we are nurturing them. We are providing value. Jab, 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 right hook.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, too, is thinking about that, how you can do that education, like, either webinar, we did it, Andrea helped me to see way back when, like the importance of doing live events. Like every time she and I would get together, it was at a live event in Nashville. So that's when it dawned on me, when you see the power of somebody watching somebody educate, like you're naturally see them as an authority, even if I'm not ready to buy what they have to sell. And that's what we did with our lunch and learns. It wasn't an opportunity to quote unquote sell, but we closed business every time we did it.
Yep.
Yeah. And along those lines too, Taher, like you're saying, the long game, it's also about not just a one and done. It's not just a send out the direct mail postcard and expect everybody to start calling you. It's about doing the follow-up phone calls. It's about, sending out the blog and the emails and doing the infographic and doing the video. It's about doing the full campaign and doing all the touches that go with it, not just doing one thing, expecting magic to happen. I think that's where a lot of the conceptions come in as well.
Yep. Spot on. Consistency.
Yeah, because I did the same thing. And, after the 2008 recession, we didn't lose any business, but it was very hard to try to get new business. And that was the thing that I got stuck on. Okay, I needed to close business because we needed to pay bills. So I would send out, a direct mailer and got crickets, and I think that's kind of the desperation mode causes you to be impatient.
Well, and then it's direct mail doesn't work.
Right. Exactly. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy after that, because, okay, I sent it out to 500 people that have no idea who I am because I bought a list somewhere and wonder why I didn't get any result. Like the letter didn't speak to any of the pain points. So, and it's, so you become jaded, but once you hit that mental reset and look at marketing differently, I guess you stop having an adversarial relationship with marketing. And I think that's where a lot of I did for the longest time. I had, okay, this doesn't work. I'm going back to referrals and word of mouth because that's easier. It's easier to close those people. But yeah, you got to think beyond that, especially if you want to grow, you want to scale your business up. Like you got to think in terms of, how do I go 2 levels deep? Because nobody else is. Like nobody else is going to do that second level, helping a prospect help their customer.
Yeah. I was talking to a guy recently that he was at an MSP as the ops guy, and they grew from 7 people to 70 people in a few years. And I was like, whoa, that's awesome. Like acquisition. He's like, now the 2 owners were marketing and salespeople. Yeah. It's like the prospects are out there. The business is out there. Like, absolutely. Right. Like, and marketing absolutely works. It just requires us getting really involved, really engaged, and somewhat obsessed with growth.
It does. We did have a question from Annette Volutions. Let me put that up on the screen for us. It says, I'm a direct mail novice. I have a few ideas for some mailers. What is the most cost-effective way to send these mailers to our target audience? Should I have these printed myself and brought to shipping? So I think they're printing themselves and, trying to send them, taking them to the post office is how I look at that.
Yeah, Andrew would probably be able to answer this better than me, but I would say, I mean, almost never send things out yourself. I mean, that's just my opinion, because the time cost is a huge opportunity cost that can be spent on different marketing, right? I mean, obviously things that are super unique, you're gonna have to send yourself, but like, yeah, I would just always recommend having a mail house do it. Andrew, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so I know within the tribe we have a couple of posts about different mail houses that we have put out there. We've not tested a lot of them ourselves. I've actually done a couple recent tests with a few of them. There's, I think, like stamp.com, and there's a couple other ones out there. But I would just recommend like testing a few yourself as far as like costs go and timing and things like that. And it also just depends on what you're actually mailing as well. I just did a few tests with some of our postcards recently, but yeah, I would recommend just testing a few different ones to see what works for you. It also depends on your location. Some are very US specific, and it just depends on where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, kind of adding to that, which we're going to talk about on our next monthly growth clinic, by the way, a lot of people get scared because of the cost of doing direct mail, because yeah, it can get expensive, but we're going to talk about having a dream 100 list, having a list of your dream clients, which doesn't have to be 1,000. That makes doing direct mail much more feasible. And because I think a lot of people get stuck there is, I don't have the budget. Like if it's going to cost me $600 to send one mailer, I don't have that kind of a budget. So, but yeah, we're going to talk about that. So what advice would you have? I guess if we're going to land the plane here, what advice would you have for an MSP that might be in that mindset where they have an adversarial relationship with marketing, but they know they need to get started? Like, what would your top one or two tips be for them?
I would say number one, almost before you do anything else, is you have to make sure your website can convert. I know that's kind of different from what we're talking about today, but like I see people using MSP Camp content and it's like doing well for them, but then it leads to a site that's terrible, like awful, like all marketing speak, looks terrible, will never convert anybody. And like, so before you run campaigns, before you do anything like that, before you spend any dollars at the lead generation agency or whatever, like you got to make sure when someone lands on your site, it's engaging. It's got real people on it. It's got a live chat option. Like the content is mostly written by you and then tweaked by the marketing people. Because what happens is marketing people, coordinators, they're amazing. They're so talented, but like we don't understand how to sell. A lot of times people don't know how to sell managed services like you do. I think that's one thing that I'm very grateful for is I was the marketing and salesperson. So like when I'm in the sales meeting, I know when people go like this. And that's what it's a game I used to play in sales meetings is like the more times I got nods, the more likely they were to close. And I know what words I use to get the nods. And that is what my website copy should be like. The marketing people, no matter how good of a marketing person they are, they've never closed an MSP sales deal. So the copy is going to be marketing-esque. It's going to be very general. It's going to be very high level. It's going to sound like ChatGPT, even though it isn't. Sometimes it is. So you understanding that if you look at your website and you're unhappy with it, don't say, I don't know marketing. Don't say, I don't know who's doing my website. Don't say, I don't want to spend a bunch of money on website. Say, okay, if I go page by page, starting with the homepage, what would I do differently to make this sound like me in a sales meeting? Not being a salesperson, not being salesy, but what are the things that gets the head nods? And if it doesn't get the head nods or people don't care about it, we're going to remove it from the page. And you don't need to spend $10,000 on a website. There are so many website builders out there that are inexpensive. Hosting is extremely cheap now. You could have AI create at least a framework of your website in like 30 minutes, right? There's so many things you can do. And look, it sounds like right now, it sounds like I'm talking to the small MSPs. But I'm not. This is the reality of how bad MSP marketing is in a lot of cases. I'm talking to the big ones right now too. Like I know there's a lot of small ones on this call, but there's a lot of MSPs that are doing $2, $3, $4, $5 million and their website sucks and isn't converting.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm talking to everybody. Start with your website. Make sure it can convert. Like, look at your analytics, look at your search console. Like, what are you ranking for and why? And what are you not ranking for that you want to rank for? Yeah. So I would say that's my first tip before you even do any campaigns. Like, start with the website and like Growably, right? I didn't even you could do a website and landing pages right in Growably. Like, they literally give you the templates. They're like, here's all the stuff you need. Like, so I don't want to make anyone feel bad, but it's like, yeah, let's get motivated to like start there. That is the foundation. It's like website and how we look on LinkedIn. Those are like the two most important things. And then it's like local networking, right? Like, so those are the three foundation things I would start with. And then it would be, what are you most interested in? Are you interested in SEO? Are you interested in direct mail? Are you interested in social media? Are you interested in video? Like, what would you be most excited about doing every day with your marketing? Start there. And then what happens? It's this beautiful thing. It's happened to me with MSP Camp. It's happened to me with Alltech. It's happened to so many of my members. The minute you get a result that's not a referral, that's not word of mouth, the minute you get a marketing result, it's like this new world opens up for you where it's like, oh, that just worked. And then you will double, triple down and you become obsessed with marketing, and then you start growing. Like, go through the 12 month, like go through the heartache. I went through 13 months of heartache, almost quitting twice. Go through that, get your first lead from that cold email automation you sent out or that direct mail post and you called, and yeah, they are willing to set an appointment and it closes. Like, go through that process and you will become obsessed with marketing.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Any closing remarks, Andrea?
I would just say, if someone wants to work with you, Taher, like, get some good content that's not boring. What would you recommend? How would they do that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely use the tribal perk. We have a perk on there. It's 10% off the Scout Plus or Leader membership, 10% off for life. So definitely, if you are interested in signing up, make sure you go through the Tech Tribe so you get that special offer that we only have here for the Tech Tribe. So yeah, I would say that, and go through the camp journey. We got this really ridiculous. Again, it's funny because I know that if the course is funny but also informative, people are much more likely to complete it than if it was just boring. So anyway, I practice what I preach. And yeah, we always tell members to go to Tech Tribe too. I think the beautiful thing about Tech Tribe and MSP Camp is they're like complementary. They're so complementary because we don't really have a community like Tech Tribe. We don't do any operations at all. We will never be big enough to roll out at Growably, right? So I just love how complementary it is. So yeah. Wow, I talk a lot.
Well, and on that note too, for those that don't know, we just released a campaign that was provided by MSP Camp, and there's more coming. We have a couple in the pipeline. We've got more than a couple, so there's definitely more coming. We've got a partnership now with MSP Camp, so definitely more on the way.
Yeah, the third one, I won't spoil anything, but the one that's coming out after this next one is like probably one of my favorite campaigns we've ever done. And it was Andrea's idea. And I'm like, oh my God, I love it. Let's do it right now. And then the sixth one is like, oh, I'm so excited.
No, they're all a lot of fun. And you guys are a lot of fun to work with. So
absolutely.
It's been great.
Yeah. Taher, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. Yeah. We're going to give you the applause, man.
I'm going to give myself one too. Here we go.
Double applause. So applause from both sides. But yeah, thanks for sharing, as an MSP, I think you understand what fellow MSPs are going through and just the significance of where we can go. Like you said, there is money to be had. There is clients to be closed. We just have to be telling the right story. Yeah,
totally.
Love it. Thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's going to wrap it for us today, folks. That was some great stuff. I was putting markers everywhere in that one as well, Andrea. So I'm going to go back and tag some of the gold. But yeah, I think, what was your big takeaway from Taher's presentation today?
I really liked what he said at the end there about, making sure your website is ready to go when those leads come and check you out. I mean, a lot of people don't think about that. You send something out and that's the first place they're going to look. So I think that's super important.
Yeah, I like how I'm
Mhm.
I'm a LinkedIn nerd, so I like he
Oh
threw
yeah.
LinkedIn too. But yeah, those are the first two places somebody's
Yeah,
gonna go when they're checking you out. They're gonna do it.
absolutely. Hmm.
But yeah, those stories and they has to have the congruency. They have to see that
Hmm.
to get that trust going
For
before
sure.
they. But yeah, Angela, Simona, Clearcom Tech, Preston Buto, let's see, Netvolutions. Thank you all for showing up live today. We appreciate you. Those of you,
Yes.
I know there's massive amounts of you that will be watching this on the replay, but we thank you too. But yeah, show up live to ask questions. We're going to be doing our next one. Let me go back here. Who's our next one with? Let me just see who's on our production schedule. We have Pete
Looks like
Matheson.
Pete Matheson, video marketing. Yep.
Pete and I can nerd out about video all day long. So yeah, this one's going to be a fun one. Yeah, I've done a show with Pete. Pete was actually my first interview when I started live streaming during 2020. I
Very
interviewed
cool.
him in June. He had just sold his MSP 2 weeks before COVID hit. But yeah, I've known Pete since the pandemic began. So that's going to be a good one. Folks, also check out our next MSP Growth Clinic, which is going to be next Wednesday at 7 p.m. And we're going to be talking about how to build a list. We've talked about direct mail. We've given you lots of things to think about over the last few growth clinics. But yeah, Andrea's got some special gold she's going to give us about finding our dream clients and
Yeah.
how do we market to our dream clients. So register for that so you get alerted. If you're on this YouTube channel, be sure to like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up so we help out that YouTube algorithm. You know how that goes. But yeah, Andrea, get some rest. Like I said, I know you got in at 1:30 a.m. last night.
Yep.
So yeah, so we'll get rested. We'll be well rested for our broadcast next week. But yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, all. Thank
All right.
you. We'll see you all next week. Take care.
Have a good day.